It feels so good to be talking about travel again, and I know I'm not alone in this. I've gotten a lot of messages from you guys saying that 2021 is your year that you're going to try solo travel. I started traveling by myself a few years ago, and as I've said many times on this channel, it is one of the best decisions I've ever made. But I've made some missteps here and there along the way, so today I thought I would share some mistakes to avoid when traveling by yourself. Overpacking. Now, we all know that overpacking is a mistake when you're traveling, but it is exponentially worse when you're traveling by yourself. Because when you're traveling alone, nobody can watch your luggage for you, which doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but it is. Because think about it, when we're traveling with other people, we go to the airport, we get through security, we get to our gate, and then what do we always do? We drop all of our luggage, and then one person sits with the luggage, one person goes to the bathroom, one person goes to get snacks. But when you're traveling by yourself, if you want to go to the bathroom, you are lugging all of your luggage with you, trying to cram it into that tiny little stall. Or maybe if you're at a busy train station, you can't leave one person with all of the luggage while somebody else goes and tries to figure out where tickets are or where the timetables are. Everywhere you go, your luggage has to go with you, and you have to be able to physically carry it all at once, because you might find yourself at a place that doesn't have an elevator or an escalator and you have to carry everything upstairs. Arriving at night. Arriving at night is never a great idea for travel, but especially when you're traveling by yourself. You could find that certain transportation isn't available, like trains have stopped running. It's also just generally not as safe. And it's so much nicer to arrive somewhere during the day. You can see it as you fly in, you can see the city on the drive to your hotel. Planning too much. It's really easy to have hiccups when you're traveling by yourself because you don't have a second person there double checking all of the decisions you're making. Somebody to say, oh, I think the map is turned around, or oh, I saw that sign back there. Because we all make these mistakes when we're traveling, but when we're in a group, somebody else is there to catch it. And if you plan too much and you pack your schedule incredibly full, if you make an error and you get on the wrong train and now you're an hour late to something, your whole day is going to be behind an hour and it could just ruin everything in a domino effect. So my personal strategy is to just plan one thing for the first half of the day and one thing for the second half of the day. That way, if the thing in the morning gets a little hectic, it probably won't have too big of an effect on the thing in the afternoon. Planning too little. I think planning too little is a mistake that makes solo travel feel lonely. If you get somewhere new, check into a hotel, and then have no plans and you're just wondering what to do, it's really easy to start feeling like, oh, I wish someone was here. Versus if you get to your destination and you have a tour booked first thing in the morning, and then in the afternoon you've picked out a market to go shop at, you'll feel more purpose and direction to your trip and not as lonely. Speaking of staying busy with fun things like travel, I want to take a minute to say thank you to Wealthfront for sponsoring today's video. As we're getting back to the things we love doing, Wealthfront handles investing for you with their automated investing service, so you can focus on having fun, not managing your money. If you don't know what to invest in, or you don't have a lot of time to dedicate to it, or you just want a more passive, hands-off experience, automated investing services can be really useful, and they've been available for over a decade. I have a product demo here that Wealthfront put together so I can show you guys the client experience. Wealthfront is one that really pioneered automated investing. And of course, you're never guaranteed a certain return in the market, but based on your personal information, your goals, your age, etc., Wealthfront's intelligent software will build and manage a diversified portfolio of low-cost index funds aimed to maximize your returns at the level of risk that's right for you. And they offer a range of investment accounts you can open, including retirement accounts and 529 college savings accounts, and they have a really nice app where you can track how your investments are doing. And right now I've partnered with Wealthfront, so if you open an account with them, you will get the first $5,000 you invest managed free for life. And I will put a link down in the description, so be sure to check it out. Not researching transportation. How much should taxis cost? How often do trains run? What's walkable? I've found in a lot of countries there are upscale taxi companies that charge way more than regular taxis, but as a foreigner, you wouldn't know the difference. And especially when you're traveling alone and not splitting cab fare with anyone, you don't want to be paying for the more expensive taxi. Not telling taxis how you plan to pay up front. Oh man, I have learned my lesson on this one. This is a really common thing that I've experienced pretty much everywhere I've traveled. Modern taxis now take credit cards and they advertise as such. They'll have like a little Visa sticker in the window, or when you get in, it'll say like pay with credit card. But when you get to your destination and go to pay, the driver tells you the credit card machine is broken. They want you to pay in cash, and I don't know exactly the reason of like why it works out to be monetarily better for them. Maybe there's no like card transaction fees or something like that. But if you don't have cash, it becomes a problem. This happened to me most recently in Dubai late at night. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I got a taxi from the airport that was totally new, modern, had the like we take credit card thing on it. And when we got to my hotel, the driver said the credit card machine is broken, you have to pay me in cash. But I didn't have cash, and I told her that, and she was adamant that the machine was broken. She clearly thought that I was bluffing about not having cash, which I still am not sure what my motivation for that would even be, because it's not like the price changes if I pay with one method or the other. It's the same amount of dollars coming from me. She was not backing down about it, and we went back and forth for a few minutes with this like, you have to pay cash. I'm sorry, I don't have cash. I only have a credit card. That doesn't work. You have to pay cash. I'm sorry, I don't have cash. And she was not happy with me. Like, her frustration was really building to the point where after a few minutes of having the same conversation like 5 times around, she just went silent. She sat in the front seat, like silently fuming, just kind of sitting there. And I was in the back seat, like honestly terrified, because this was my first time in Dubai. It was the middle of the night. I was all by myself and I'm being told I have to pay cash, and I don't have cash. And I'm thinking I have no way to pay. But then after like a solid 60 seconds of just angry silence in the car, she reached over to her glove box and pulled out her cash machine, reached back for my card, like no words in any of this, just silence. Reached back for my card, swiped it. It worked perfectly the first time, handed me back my card, and I said thank you and got out of the car, and she hated me. So the credit card machine did actually work. So now the very first thing I do when I get a taxi, well, the first thing I do now is I get cash from an ATM at the airport. So I never find myself in that position again. But the second thing I do when I get a taxi now, before I put anything in the car or get in, I open the door and I ask the driver, do you take credit cards? And since I've started doing that, I have never had this problem again. I get the driver to confirm before I even get in their car that they will take my credit card. It puts you in a really uncomfortable situation as the traveler, especially traveling by yourself, and I think the driver knows that. Like, this driver in Dubai, I don't think she would have pushed the cash thing so hard if there had been 3 of us in the car all saying that we don't have cash. But because I was by myself, I think she felt comfortable pushing it harder. Not preparing for time in customs. It's easy to think of the journey to your destination as just the flight time, or that you get there when your plane lands, but there are a lot of destinations where you can get stuck in customs for 2 hours or more, which piggybacks on my point about arriving at night. If your flight lands at 10, but you get stuck in customs for 2 hours, you're not getting out of the airport until after midnight. And then maybe by then trains have stopped running, or you're stuck trying to get a taxi in the middle of the night. Not having an international data plan on your phone. It's 2021. Every smartphone is capable of having data pretty much worldwide, and there is no reason why you should not be able to access the internet on your phone when you're traveling, period. I'm personally on T-Mobile. I've talked about how I love them before. I get free international data with my plan, so when I land somewhere, I just turn my phone on and use it like I normally would. There are a bajillion times when you're traveling by yourself that you will need to look something up, whether it's just mapping directions back to your hotel, or looking up transportation times, how to say a phrase in another language. You need to have it. You need to figure something out that works for you. Don't think of it as optional. Not having backups of important documents and money. You want to have an extra scan of your passport or any ID you're using, your visa, any itinerary you have, any documents that are really important. You want to have extra scans. So if you lose your passport, at least you have a scan of your passport. And then there's money, which if you saw my video about the horrible mistake I made in Portugal, you know. I will link it down below if you haven't seen it, but basically I lost all of my money, credit cards, cash, everything, 3 days into an 11-day solo trip to Portugal. And it was a nightmare. I didn't even have a euro to get me to a train station. Like, it was awful. And now I've learned my lesson, and I always have a backup credit card and some cash in my hotel room safe. So if I go out and I lose my wallet, my trip isn't ruined. Looking too flashy. Someone who's alone is an easier target for theft than somebody who's in a group. And that goes for whether you're in your hometown or traveling internationally. But especially if you're traveling internationally, you might also look like you aren't from that area, which makes you an even easier target. So you don't want to attract more attention to yourself by looking flashy, by wearing some really obvious designer clothing with designer labels, flashing expensive items. I try not to just walk down the street with my phone out. You don't want to wear anything that makes you look like you have a bunch of valuable stuff on you. Telling people you're traveling alone. Now this is more of a read the room type of situation for me. Like if I was taking a cooking class with a bunch of other travelers and we were all talking about where we've traveled from and what we're up to on our trips, I would have no problem saying, yeah, I'm traveling by myself. But if I'm in a random taxi going across town, I never divulge that I'm traveling alone. And oddly enough, they always ask, which I get is just kind of friendly taxi conversation. If you have one person in your car, you might ask like, oh, what's your reason for visiting? Are you by yourself? Like they're all normal questions, but I am ready to lie. My family's back at the hotel. I'm just running an errand. Oh, I'm on my way to meet my friend. You just never know who you're talking to or who's listening to your conversation. If you're sitting in a restaurant saying, oh yeah, I'm a solo traveler, and the person at the table behind you is listening and now they know. People traveling alone are much easier targets for scams, for theft, everything else. So prepare a response in your head ahead of time. Don't do what I did and wait until the first time somebody asks you if you're traveling by yourself, because they are going to ask. Because if you don't have an excuse prepared, you'll just freeze. The first time somebody asked me, I think I just like went silent and kind of deer in the headlights. Like, I don't want to tell this person I'm traveling by myself, but I can't on the spot come up with just a convincing, easy, oh, I'm off to meet someone or something. Just come up with something ahead of time. You'll have to use it. You never know who you're talking to, and it's better to be safe than sorry. So those are some mistakes to avoid when you're solo traveling, and I would love to know what mistakes you've made or the things you try to avoid when you travel as well. If you can tell me down in the comments below. I hope you all have some fun travel booked this year, even if it's just closer to home. Thank you for watching as always, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.